Hi, it is Julia from Julia K Art Studio, and today I thought we were going to make this sketch into a proper piece. Yeah, so my sister and her dog, they have moved to a new apartment, and I thought I was going to make like a little house warming, apartment warming, flat warming, new home warming present. Yes, there we go. So I made a quick sketch that I really liked, and then I made another one and then I transferred that one to watercolor paper. I'm using Fabriano Artistico 300 GSM 100% cotton paper. Yeah. I did that, and then I'm just going to go over the line work with some sepia acrylic ink with a dip nib because I really like it. I really like using this method. It is not without its flaws. I mean, it is a bit risky, as you will see. Yep, there we go. Deep breath and convince myself to carry on. Yeah, so apart from that little hiccup and another one later on, it went well. I really like it, and I really like the look that you get with the dip nib or that sort of line work, but it is risky, risky business. That's what everybody says about artists. That is a very risky life, Yeah, so here is the finished inking, and I'm really happy with it. So yeah, let's go and add in some color. So in my first mock-up sketch, I had an idea of colors, and I really want to go with that. So I decided to use my own colors for this to have some fun, and I rarely give myself time to just have fun and play with my own colors, really. So I thought this would be an excellent time to do that. So using a swatch book here, I have a few of those in my shop in different types of paper, and I'm just swatching out the different colors or mixes that I want to use, so I sort of know what to expect when I start. One color that I really liked that I mixed was Elisabeth together with Elof, and then a little bit of Helena to get a little bit more blue, and that is what I'm going to use for the background. And I'm thinking the background is I want to have it darker around the main figures, so Lovisa and Siri, and then I want it to sort of fade out as it goes up. So that is what I'm keeping in mind as I'm painting, and I'm trying to avoid the flowers and of course her face and the dog, but the leaves I'm not really bothered because those will be green later on, and the colors that I make, they lift pretty easily, so I'm not too worried about that. And I'm just using a flat brush because I hardly ever use flat brushes, so I don't really know why. I think it was that when I'm swatching colors, I like the flat brush to get a nice flat lay down of color, and I just continue using it. Usually I use a bigger round brush when I do this kind of stuff, but the more I force myself to use the flat brush, the more I like it. So I wanted to deepen up the color, so I'm just adding in more Elisabeth and more Helena to that mix, and place that just at the bottom of Lovisa and Siri, and on the sides of the flowers to give them a little bit of shadow. So I really like that. When I go in later, now with the flowers, I'm thinking that I want something to contrast against that sort of bluey green color. So, and I want to have the color scheme sort of late summer autumn look, so because that's sort of, they got the apartment September 1st, so I want to give that a bit of a nod to when they got the new apartment too. So I decided to go with that. So the flowers and all that, I want to keep that for sort of orange red. Okay. I'm sorry, English is not my first language, and it is early morning, so yeah. So that is what I do. I mix Ingrid, which is one of the new colors, and it's sort of like an opaque opaque yellow with Kightley that is more of transparent orange color. And then for the quote-unquote bluebells, I decided to go in with Gredelin. And I do this while the background is still wet because I want that warmth of that Gredelin to sort of fade out into that background color. I really like that sort of soft, gradual spreading of the color in that sort of misty color. I really like how those two, because I will go in later on and sort of define the colors or the shape of it, but when it's so wet, I really like having them having those sort of merged together, very artistical. For the skin tone, I'm mixing the same flower color with Violette, the same Violet I used on the bottom part of the bluebell flowers, and I'm just going in and I'm trying to add color to her face where there would be shadow, and then almost leaving the highlights white. So I'm not going in with all around her face for now. I just want to add in some depth of color because I don't want to make her face too dark, which is something I often do. I go in with too much color and the person almost looks very tan at the end. And believe me, we are not tan in this family. Nope. Something I really like to do is also, you can see here, I'm adding in the shadows for her hair. I'm using that same color that I use in the background, so I'm repurposing the colors that I have. And I feel like that brings more cohesionness to the piece. So using the flower colors as her skin tone, and then using the background color as the shadow tone. I'm just trying to use as few colors as I can, and I feel like that usually makes it looks good. The same thing I'm trying to do here, I'm using Olof as a base color for the leaves, but then I'm going in with Ingrid and Kightley and sort of dipping in colors to the leaves to get them not green, but you know how it is when they're just starting to change the colors. And that is something I really like to do when I'm painting with my own colors, and I do this of course when I use other brands too, but something I more actively think about when I'm painting with my own colors is because I know what pigments are in them and I know why I created them. I really like to let them sort of be watercolors. I will try to explain it better, but I really like to let them flow more because I know that many of the colors that I have mixed with a purpose. So for example, Elisabeth, that is the sort of base color of the background, I know what pigments I have in it, and I know that if I let that flow, those pigments will show through a lot better. So I like to do a very loose layer at the bottom, and then I can go in and add a nitpick and add details. But I have realized that if I go in and being very loose in the beginning and just letting the colors flow and mix together and not like controlling them too much, the outcome is almost always better. And I don't think this is solely for my colors. I think it's something that I have realized while painting more with my colors because I know how I created them. But I feel like that is something that as a watercolorist I can do better, is letting them flow a lot more and letting them live a better life. So for example, here you can see like on the background where we have that sort of misty blue color and getting that sort of purple from the bluebell sort of fading out. I really love that mix. I mean, there's no doubt what that kind of shape, because I have outlined it with a very solid outline because of the ink that I used, so I don't need to be afraid of losing the shapes in any way, and I can always go over and add more shape and define the shapes later on. But as the first layers, I really try to let them be watercolors, if that makes sense. So that is something that I don't want to say discovered, but it's something I have use that technique a lot more when I'm painting with my own, and it's something I'm bringing also of course when I'm painting with my quote-unquote like professional proper watercolors. And I really like that, and I feel like I can get a lot more life and vibrancy to the pieces when I let the first layers just wetting the page or laying down the colors and then wetting it or whatever. I feel like I get a lot better result and I get more vibrant pieces. Yeah. I don't think that was a very articulate way of describing it, but I hope you understand. So yeah, so now when I'm on the final sort of steps with watercolor, I'm just trying to add like the definition that I'm looking for. I know I have a few more steps after this, so I'm not too worried about it, but I want to add in like the last sort of add in a bit more dimension to the piece and sort of looking at, is there anything I can add to the piece? Not just like in terms of can I add more color, but if I add more color, will it actually add to the piece? And here I decide I feel very happy with it. So I'm going to go in with a color that is called Sybill, and that will be back in the shop October 1st. And that noise you can hear, that is Uni, our puppy. She is in the sofa. And Albert is coming, so there will be more noise, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I'm adding Sybill because I feel like it is the perfect sort of late summer, autumn color to enhance this piece. And I'm just adding details. I love metallic watercolors. I think you all know that. That is what I started with when I started making watercolors, and I feel like that is something I will always make. Yeah, especially for stuff like this, when you have done a whole piece and then just adding in that perfect metallic shade, it brings so much life to the piece, I feel. So yeah, I'm just adding some details to the flowers and leaves, and yeah, I'm just really, really happy with how well this metallic looks with the other colors. Of course, my first instinct was to open my big palette and have like a purple glitter on the purple flowers and green glitter on the leaves and all of that, but in the end I was like, rein it in, be a bit more like think it through, and yeah, it looks better with just one in this case. So here you can see a little bit better. Now the last step that I do, I love doing, and that is adding colored pencil to my pieces. I love the look of it, I love the process of doing it, but it's also one of those steps that requires a lot of restraint on my part, because I really love the process of doing it. So it is very easy for me just to go overboard and add a lot more than I intended, just because it is so fun. But you know, we all have stuff we need to work on, and I overwork stuff, and that is the way it is. Do you think there's a 12-step program for using too much colored pencil on your watercolor pieces? Anyway, yeah, so I'm trying to do the same, think about it in the same way anyway. So the colors that I've been using on the piece, I try to pick colors from the color pencils that I have to be sort of the same, so I don't introduce new colors at this stage, but I'm just trying to enhance the colors I already have. So when I want to shadow, I'm using a violet color. I'm also using a sepia color, so I don't go in with black because we don't have any black here. If I were to go in with black, I fear that it would look too stark or too out of place. So when I'm shadowing something here, I'm using the sepia color or the violet color. The violet color I have sort of mixed with pretty much all of the other colors in this piece to get a shadow color. So there, that is something I can add pretty much all over, and that wouldn't be out of place. And also the red, I have used red mixings to the flowers, but it's not, I don't have anything that is pure red. So when I want to add that, I want to be very intentional of where I put that. So I'm very intentional about putting that just on her face to draw more attention to it, because that is a color that will be bigger contrast to everything else, or be standing out a bit more. Just because I haven't used it on, and like I haven't used it as a watercolor anywhere else. I will go in and use that red to add some details to the flowers, but it won't be as obvious because it will be on that sort of orange, yellow orangey base you can see here. So I'm adding that in, which means I have that same color on several places, but it won't be as big of a contrast, which means the colors won't stand out as much. I'm just jabbering on right now. But yeah, so that's why I could add that to her face and also to see like her ears to bring a bit more attention to them. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking when I'm picking the colors. But I really like that, and I really like the texture that you get. And especially here on this paper that is a cold press paper, you have that sort of base texture in it. Going over color pencil, you will enhance that texture, and I love watercolor paper texture. So the last color pencil that I will use is this cinnamon. I don't know if like real cinnamon looks like this, but in my world cinnamon is like brown. But yeah, anyway, I just added a few details to that, and then of course white. So what I really like to do adding details is either like a white gel pen like here, or the cinnamon color, is that you can go over stuff that is darker with a lighter color. I think that is really fun. So if you have like a really dark green leaf, you can add in details with like a lighter green or yellow pen over that. That's really fun. But yeah, talking about restraint here, white gel pen and dots is like, I love that. So here you can see the finished piece. I am so happy with it. I'm really happy with the composition. I'm very happy about how her name goes into Siri's name. I like the colors, and I feel like there's a really good resemblance to my sister and her dog, but it's my style and it's fun and I love the colors, and I'm just really happy with it. And it was a long time ago since I just made a piece for fun that I was really happy with, and I feel like most of that is thanks to actually planning it out. I know that is the boring part, but if the result is good, then all is good. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this process, hearing about how I think about painting with my own watercolors. And if you like it, please leave a thumbs up, and I hope to see you on Saturday for a new vlog.